From AI-powered hiring to the new skills over degrees mindset, the job market is changing fast. Those are all the job market trends we'll be discussing today. Let's dig into each one so you can feel confident in yourself as you maneuver your way through the job market. So Holly, I want to jump into some of these trends. So let's start with this bizarre and frustrating trend of ghost jobs. What exactly is a ghost job?
A ghost job is a position that an employer will post online with usually no intent to hire. This could be intentional or even unintentional.
The nerve, Holly. I'm representing the job seeker and saying the nerve.
It's not always like ill-intentioned. Sometimes the employer is having to meet fair hiring requirements, and so they might already know someone internally who is good for the position, but they still have to offer it externally. So that could be an instance. And then another one is they just forgot to take the job posting down. And then more on the poor practice side is if they're trying to give the image that they're doing well. And so they're posting these fake positions to make it look like they're doing well, but they might even be on a hiring freeze. Another reason could be that they're trying to light a fire under their current employees and show that they're replaceable by posting those similar jobs. And another reason is that they're just trying to gauge interest and kind of see, okay, what kind of talent can we pull in, and even have a pipeline of candidates ready for when they are hiring. Either way, regardless of the situation of why those are up, it sucks for the job seeker. It's not fair.
I think we feel for these job seekers deeply because we've been there before too, and we've been rejected by job offers too.
It's demoralizing.
Yes.
And you apply and you get constant rejection letters. I mean, it's very stressful.
We see you, job seekers. We see you. So what do you think about this stat that between 18 to 20% of job postings are fake or never filled?
Honestly, I thought it would be a little bit higher, but it is kind of scary and it's very frustrating for the job seeker. And employers don't think that they're doing anything wrong. They think they're being strategic in this practice.
I think that's a good segue into our next question, which is there a hidden cost, whether it be emotional and financial, of applying to jobs that never existed in the first place?
I think we can all say yes. I
A
think
resounding yes.
Yes. I think most of us have experienced that. We've been ghosted or gotten rejection letters. And especially after you get dozens, sometimes hundreds, it's hard to not take that personally. And so it does take a toll on your mental and emotional well-being. And then financially, if you're trying to change jobs and you had to take a day off of work, well, that's a day of pay gone. And then if you had to get childcare or something like that, and you're paying for that so you can go to this interview for a job that doesn't even exist, yeah, there is a financial cost.
Yeah, you're putting in your real time, effort, and money.
Energy, all of it.
Exactly. So what can people do to ensure they're applying to a real job and not just getting catfish? Because apparently catfishing doesn't only happen when it comes to dating, but when it comes to a job
Everywhere.
search too. It's everywhere.
So there are some things that you can do to increase the likelihood that you're applying for a real job. Go to the company's website. See if that position is posted there. So that's a good place to start, because sometimes on job boards, they don't always take the jobs down in a timely manner. It's not a guarantee, but it helps. And then also, when was the job posted? If the job was posted more than a month ago, chances are it's not a real job, or that position has probably been filled and they just haven't taken it down. Another good thing that you can do is reach out to your network. If you happen to know someone who's working at that company and you can have a conversation with them to see like what's the hiring like there, they're probably going to have insight about their hiring trends if they're at that company. And I know you may not know someone who's working at that company, but maybe you know someone who knows someone and they can introduce you, because having that connection to know what it's like to work at that company, plus networking is always a good thing to do. Like even if they can't help you in that particular instance, you might be able to help you out later down the road. Those types of things can really help prevent applying for ghost jobs. There is no foolproof way, but that can help limit how many ghost jobs you're applying for.
Do your research, talk to the people you know. In fact, that's how I got my job at Indeed.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
High five.
High five. Okay, virtual.
Virtual.
I mean, we're so awkward. Holly.
There you go.
Our next trend is skills-based hiring. Holly, what is skills-based hiring?
Skills-based hiring is hiring based on the skills necessary for that job, not just educational background or general work experience.
I think even if you have a degree and you're in a role, you're going to end up having to acquire new skills. I mean, for example, I've been at Indeed for an eternity. I started in sales, then I went to R&D and product, and then I went over to marketing. And each time I've taken a new role, it's like starting new.
Look at you go.
Look at me go, Holly. Tell me, why do you think more companies are moving away from degree requirements and focusing more on skills instead?
They're trying to find new ways to reach bigger pools of candidates. And so this is a great way of doing that. So again, bigger pool of candidate, better options. It's giving people a chance if they don't have that traditional background necessarily. Yeah. Degrees are expensive and time consuming.
Expensive.
Right. When you have things like boot camps and courses that you can take online for skills that are needed right now, it just moves everything along so much faster. So really, the job seeker and the employers win.
Yeah, it's giving everyone more options.
Absolutely.
Can you share a story about someone without a degree or traditional background that experienced unexpected success?
I do have a degree, but my degree is in music education, and now I work in HR. So those two things are not exactly connected. However, when I started getting into career coaching, I didn't really even know what it was. So I took some courses online and got some certifications, and then I got hired as a career coach. So that's one instance of having a non-traditional background and upskilling and staying up to date with trends and using skills-based hiring.
Yeah, you pivoted, Holly. So this is a big one. We're going to talk about AI for a minute. It's such a broad topic, so I want to be really specific here and talk about AI as it applies to the job market. So in a previous episode of this great podcast, we talked about AI for job searching, but now we're going to flip the script. We're going to talk about AI for hiring. How do recruiters use AI for hiring?
They are using things like an applicant tracking system or ATS to scan resumes, and using AI tools helps them do this, but even provide additional information and analytics even. They're also using it to schedule interviews, and sometimes with those interviews, a chatbot is running the first interview.
What is a chatbot?
It's a tool that will actually respond to your answers, and generally they've already come up with the prompts for the bot to start with, but it can even respond to your answers.
Okay, I have used these, mostly online shopping, but I have. But that is a really positive thing about AI for hiring, right? Is that for someone who might not feel as comfortable in a live interview, being able to record an interview can ease some of that anxiety.
Sure, but then for some people, it might increase their anxiety. So I guess it just kind of depends on.
Yeah, it
who you
depends
are.
on the person.
Yeah.
That's true. The economy and layoffs have been front and center on people's minds lately. Why are we seeing so many layoffs right now?
That's a really heavy question.
Make us feel like the world isn't ending, Holly, okay? I'm not asking for a lot.
We have unstable economic conditions. I think that's pretty common. Things are going up and down constantly. We have AI tools that are replacing the work that humans used to do. And then some companies are just taking any kind of cost-saving measures that they can and eliminating roles and positions and departments altogether.
It's not going to be all doom and gloom. We're going to be sharing a bunch of actionable advice on how to search for a job after a layoff, and also how to talk about a layoff with a new potential employer. Heard that 1 in 5 job listings might be fake? Search for Indeed on YouTube and find out what's real. The tools are obviously getting smarter and more helpful, but honestly, that can feel pretty scary if you're back in the job market unexpectedly. Let's talk about what it takes to job search after a layoff and how best to confidently address a layoff to a new potential employer. You and I have both been laid off previously in our career. We've gone through it. We've had different coping mechanisms. So, as many of us know, Holly, being laid off can be a truly challenging experience. Do you have any tips for how someone might begin to reset after a layoff?
Well, there's a lot to process, but I would say right away, file for unemployment. That process varies by state, so go online, check your government site, and see what the process is for doing that. Figure out your budget, manage your finances. The job search may take longer than you anticipate, so make sure you have a plan for that. Also, reach out to your now previous employer and see what type of severance, if any. Also, if health benefits carry on and for how long, if you have access to things like COBRA. So setting a plan like that can help put your mind at ease for this time period that you're in. And then practicing self-care. And I know a lot of people say this, but it really is very important. And it looks different for everyone. Some people like journaling, some people like working out. I have a friend who likes to go on rage walks. For me, I cried into some ice cream and binge watched the entire series of Boy Meets World. So again, it looks different for everyone. And then also, while you may not feel like it, connecting with people can really help build you back up. So whether that's your friends or your family or just doing things that bring you joy, because when you're getting into the job search, we know that can be draining. And so you have to find things that will fill your cup.
Yeah, I think you were telling me that you volunteered when you were laid off, and that really helped you build the confidence to go into interviews as your best self.
It really did. And it gave me a sense of purpose and a reason to get out of bed every day. So it can be really helpful in a lot of different ways, and even adding that experience into my resume. And then tip 3, how to treat your job search like a job without burning yourself out. Set a schedule, figure out what is it that you want to accomplish that day. How many applications do you want to get out? How many cover letters do you want to write? Do you want to go to a networking event? Do you want to eat a whole pint of ice cream? Figure out what it is that you want to do with your days. And then if possible, maybe try learning a new skill, take an online course, volunteer, do something that can, again, help you feel fulfilled. And these are things you can add to your resume.
Double benefits.
Double benefit.
With unemployment data showing shifts in the market, are there certain signals that someone who has been impacted by a layoff should look for so they can be strategic about their job search?
As of May 2025, 4.6% of jobs were unfilled, but unemployment was still at 4.2%. This gap suggests it's taking longer to find the right fit, so being strategic in your search is key.
So the job search might end up taking longer than you expect. And so you might have to take a position that's not quite in line with your career goals. And that's okay. You don't even have to necessarily put that job experience on your resume. This next job doesn't have to be forever. It could take some contract work and things like that.
Okay, Holly, what role does mental health play in the job search after a layoff? And how can job seekers maintain resilience in this fluctuating market?
Layoffs are hard. And they're hurtful. So much of our lives are wrapped up in what we do. But you are not your job. I'm going to say that again. You are not your job. Do what you can to take care of yourself and connect with people and stay persistent in your search. Try to remember that some of those rejection letters that you're getting, those are from ghost jobs, and so they don't matter anyway. So it's not necessarily something that you've done wrong.
Don't internalize it. What is the best way to explain a layoff to a potential employer?
First of all, don't try to hide it. On your resume, make sure that there is something in there to fill in that gap. You can write in sabbatical and then put the dates in. Underneath, you can fill in bullet points with the things that you did. Maybe you did take an online course. Maybe you did some volunteering, so you can fill that in that spot. You can elaborate further during the cover letter and explain a little bit about what happened, but try to keep it positive. Explain that maybe it gave you a new perspective and it gave you time to learn some new skills that you didn't have the time for before. Have AI check your cover letter and you check it for tone and make sure that we're given that positive outlook there.
Yeah, I think that's really important is address the gap.
Definitely.
Don't ignore it.
Don't- yeah.
Don't think it's going to get overlooked. There are a lot of transferable skills and things you might have learned during that time off. I work with a lot of parents and caregivers, and they are CEOs of their households when they're outside of the workforce.
Exactly.
And so,
Right.
how do you position that in a way that shows what you've learned and what you've gained?
Absolutely. I mean, especially like if you are a caregiver, you are managing appointments, you're getting people from A to B. Like there's a lot that's happening, and those are transferable skills needed for everyday work.
Yep, put them on your resume. Now, Holly, obviously someone like yourself just naturally stands out.
Go on.
You know you do, girl. So, Holly, what unconventional tactics can people use to stand out in the job market today?
Well, it's not really unconventional, but networking. So much of the job search really should be networking, because if you're only applying, then your resume is having to go through applicant tracking systems, and it's hard to get noticed with just that. So a lot of it is who you know, and not just who you know, but who they know as well. So what I mean by that is like you might know someone who's working at a particular company that you're interested in. So networking can be so helpful in pulling your application out of that black hole and getting human eyes on it.
Absolutely. I think even just talking to everyone you know about the fact that you're looking for a job and what you're looking for, right? Because that's how I got my job at Indeed. So, Holly, how can someone use emerging technologies or data about job market trends to tailor their job search in real time?
You know, technology is advancing fast, but it can actually help you in your job search. There are tools that can show you what skills employers are looking for, and you can add them to your resume. So you can set job alerts. You can also ask it to tailor your resume to break through the applicant tracking system. And some tools will even help you blast out applications. But I would be careful about doing that because then you might be applying for positions you're not even interested in.
So be strategic about it.
Be strategic.
Why is patience key, and how can people stay motivated during a job search?
Again, the job search may take a while. And treat it like a marathon, not a sprint. Don't think it's like, oh, well, if I just blast out all these applications, I'll have a job in a month. That's not exactly how it works. So take your time, set yourself a schedule, achieve those daily goals, make sure that you are taking time to take care of yourself, making connections, go to networking events, all of those things that you can do to not burn yourself out because it may take a while.
So not sitting in front of your computer screen all day.
Right, and not crying on your keys.
We've both done that. Hopefully, you now have a better understanding of today's job market trends. With that knowledge in hand, it's time to put together your playbook and take your shot. Good luck. That's our show for today. Thank you so much for watching Job Search Stories. If you're looking for more job search advice, be sure to subscribe to Indeed's YouTube channel. Drop a question or topic you'd like us to cover, or share your own job search stories and advice in the comments. Bye.
You're basing, just more, yeah, the market is unstable. No, market.
Who's unstable?
Everyone's unstable. I'm unstable.
What?